I've realised that the videos I've done have been quite Matchbox centric recently. It's not as though I don't do Hot Wheels. I do just as many as Hot Wheels as in fact I'd probably do I would say Hot Wheels and Matchbox it's kind of an even split, and then less of everything else. It just reflects what you tend to find in charity shops in the UK, because that's where all my stuff comes from. All these at some point will have been some beleaguered, bedraggled specimen festering away at the bottom of a box of grief and bric-a-brac in a charity shop somewhere. For whatever reason, I tend to find myself being a bit more mad with like colours and colour fades and things like that with Hot Wheels. I think that's just because Hot Wheels cars tend to be a bit more crazy and a bit sort of more customised to start with. So if you strip all the old paint off, you don't really feel like you can just put like a nice, sensible, solid colour in its place, because you feel like you need to give it back some of that craziness that you got rid of. Or maybe I've just always got in my mind the old red lines from the late 60s. I mean, they were a bit before my time, but they really were beautiful. Now I've collated all the Chargers, old and new, out of that collection because I want to pick on one specific one. The kind of fuchsia coloured one at the end there with the little tail stripes. Now, this is how it came to me. This is what it was like to start with. And that's what it became. So I've picked on this Charger in particular because unlike the new one that's next to it, the new Charger that's next to it, and the E-Type, although it's got the same Spectraflame type finish as those two, it was done in a different way. The E-Type and the newer Charger were both done with the airbrush. So you polish the bare metal to make it look like chrome, and then you put the transparent paint over the top. That's how you do the Spectraflame thing. But this one, I didn't really have an airbrush at the time, so I very carefully applied this just using the end of a screwdriver, believe it or not. I'm gonna make a video showing exactly how to do this in the next week or so. So if you like the idea of making these kind of coloured chrome bodies, but you don't want to get into the machinations of having to have an airbrush or whatever, then I will be showing you exactly how you can do that. These other Chargers, they were also done using the same method. And this camera is kind of like a showcase of every trick that I've come up with. It's great when you find something in a charity shop that's in that kind of state, and then you just take it home and do absolutely everything to it. So it's been mirror polished. It's had the Spectraflame paint. The green Camaro, similar thing. Found that for 20 pence in a awful state in a charity shop. Painted the interior apart from the hood. The very first video on this channel is how to make those wheels. And there's a couple of other videos on here. I think the Hot Wheels Gold Plymouth Cuda and the Matchbox Studebaker Lark, they both go into how you get the chrome details by just using a blade and a blade and a sanding pad. So yeah, this one's definitely had the full box of tricks deployed on it. So a couple of Mustangs, old and very old. With the red one, it's similar to the Spectraflaming process, but if anything, it's probably less hard work actually. But you still get a really nice kind of candy apple finish to it. But instead of going to the effort of mirror polishing the body with all the sanding and the polishing that you need to do, you just need a tin of cheap chrome aerosol from a motorist accessory shop or motor factors, whatever you want to call it. The kind of stuff that you meant to go home and sort of paint the wheels on your real car with this and make them all chrome. I don't know how successful that is if you do that. But on a diecast car, it works perfectly, especially if you're putting something over the top. So you just literally give it like a 3-second blast with the chrome aerosol, and then go over the top of it with the transparent colour of your choice to create this kind of candy apple effect. And the other Mustang is what I call black chrome. I did a video all about how to do this. The main difference is this time I just masked off a couple of bits and did them in black while it was in bare metal before putting the black tail light tint over the top. But it's the video called Black Chrome that shows you how to do this. We've got a rough looking Alfa Romeo 8C, or at least it was to begin with anyway. That and this Chevelle, I made them into what I call a neon tetra look. I left the original paint on there. I didn't actually strip it off. Well, the best way to describe it is I flayed or flailed it off with the blade of a scalpel. Just anything that could be described as an edge, anywhere where you can create a highlight, just scrape it and sand it and polish it, make it into kind of a highlight, and then go over the whole thing. Well, and then sand the whole thing smooth with like a fine grain sanding pad, and then just go over the whole thing with well, in both these cases I used a transparent blue, just a bit of a brighter blue on the Chevelle, and with a few more highlights sanded into the Chevelle. The Alpha's a little bit more low key, but the same effect is still there. It's the same process that you use when you're mirror polishing the body from scratch. It's just that obviously it's not going to take anywhere near as long, because all you're really doing is just mirror polishing the highlights that you've made by scraping a bit of the old paint off with a scalpel blade. I think on both these I put some lacquer on after the transparent as well. A couple of imposters now. You see, you'll if you dig around charity shops a lot, you'll see 911s like this everywhere. I don't know who makes them. Nobody seems to really own up to it. But looking at them now, they'd pass for customised Hot Wheels in any crowd. They're just not to be dismissed out of hand. These sort of more cheaper ones, as long as you look at the casting and it looks pretty much like a 911, they're just as worthwhile doing as Hot Wheels, really. So the Stratos, this one, I don't know. I know it was in pretty good condition, but I just don't think a beautiful weird shape like the Stratos just doesn't need words and stripes and things all over it. So I just wanted it to be one colour. So it's the same as I did with the candy red Mustang. This is just candy yellow, so it's the chrome aerosol spray with the transparent yellow over the top, and kept the wheels. They were the best thing about it. So this is the Charger that I showed earlier next to the other one. This is just a couple of photos of that when it was. So that's at its mirror polish stage, and then that's after I'd applied the Spectra Flame. And I did a similar thing with this Mustang. Did it both at the same time actually. Both of them have a nice paint fade, and that's easier to get than you think. You just put one colour on at one end, the other colour on at the other, and where they meet in the middle, it kind of mixes up and gives you extra colours. That was a Corvette that I didn't particularly like the graphics on, so I just did the same thing with that. This was a weird one. This was window tint that I was trying out. Now it's too runny and thin to really be practical to use on these things, but on this one it just did create quite a nice effect. It's sort of, I don't know, it looks like kind of distressed metal or something, so I was quite pleased with that, so I left it like it was. This is the black chrome again, so it's mirror polished body and then the black tail light tint. The Firebird, I've gone over it more times with the Firebird to make it actually so it's quite close to black than I did with the McLaren. The McLaren, you can still see the sort of chrome metal. Well, it's not chrome, obviously, it's not real chrome, but the sort of chrome effect metal shining through it. Again, I did a full video on this called Black Chrome, funnily enough. One of these has been seen before. The Gold Plymouth Cuda was, well, it was the joint subject of a 3-part restoration video a couple of months ago. And the reason I brought it back on here, it's not just because it's a smaller version of the GTX, which it sort of is, but the colour is linked as well. I did like how the rear lights turned out on this. It's just some Tamiya red just put straight onto the tail light recesses of the original base plate. But yeah, the colours linked because the gold that's used on the Hemi Cuda is the exact same gold that went on the GTX. It's just that I then went over that gold with a clear red that I'd modified a little bit. I'd put a little bit of crimson ink in it to make it like a little bit of like almost like a geranium colour, but it's mainly the gold underneath that gives it this sort of slight orangey, almost like a flamingo sort of tinge to it. And the wheels are all Korga Junior wheels that have been modified, similar to the Metro, the Austin Metro that I did a couple of months back. And this is a Kia Stinger with some kind of odd defect with the paint from the manufacturer by the looks of it. I use the same chrome aerosol like I used for the yellow Stratos on the red Mustang, but then airbrushed over the top with the same orange all the way through. It's just thicker at one end than it is at the other, but it's the same colour all the way through to create this kind of fade effect. And then I just made some tyres very similar to how I made the tyres in the last couple of videos, where I was modifying the cheap wheels and the real toy wheels. And this is just to show you that you don't always need to do everything. It's a classic twice over, really. It's a 40-year-old casting of a car that's probably not far off 100 years old, like the real car this is based on. It's a slightly scary thought, I suppose. I still think of 100-year-old cars as having sort of penny farthing wheels, but it's a 1935 Cadillac, and we are in 2025, so yeah, it's 90 years old. It wasn't in awful condition when it came to me, so part of that's probably down to the fact that the bottom half is plastic. All I did with this was just take the metal part of the body off and just do it in a red Spectra Flame, so it still matched the rest of it. That's all I did. So there we have it. It doesn't really take a lot in terms of money or equipment to turn a bunch of, well, really just discarded old toys that have washed up in charity shops. Nobody's really bought them. Kids don't really want them because they want to be the ones that ruin them and scratch and chip all the paint off. They don't want one that somebody else has already done that to. So it's unlikely a lot of these would really go to anybody else if I didn't go in and hoover them all up every now and then. I mean, the really nice mint ones that look new, I tend to just leave them for the kids. No, I don't. I tell myself I do, but I don't. I just buy them as well and strip them and customise those too. If the kids didn't get there in time, that's their lookout. But yeah, like I say, other than paying £16 for an airbrush and buying a few jars of Tamiya Clear, there's not really, sanding pads, there's not really much investment you need to make, and you can turn all these old wrecks into something that you can say you're going to get a display case for and then probably never do. Thanks for watching.